Snow fell steadily on Christmas Eve as Daniel Ashford stood at the window of his mountain cabin, watching the white landscape grow deeper and more silent. At 37, CEO of Ashford Global Holdings, he was worth close to $1 billion. And he was spending Christmas alone just as he had for the past 5 years. The cabin was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows, warm wood tones, a massive stone fireplace crackling with fire. It was his refuge from the demands of business, the place he came when the noise of success became too loud. But tonight, the silence felt less peaceful and more like loneliness, wrapped in expensive wood and stone. Daniel's assistant had begged him to spend the holiday with family. His brother had invited him to their parents' house. Friends had extended offers. He'd declined them all, preferring solitude to the performance of pretending he was fine. He wasn't fine. He was successful and empty, wealthy and alone. And Christmas made it worse, reminded him of everything his achievement hadn't brought. Connection, love, purpose beyond profit margins. He was pouring his third whiskey when he heard it. A knock at the door. Soft but insistent. Daniel frowned. The cabin was deliberately remote, accessible only by a private road. No one should be here. He wasn't expecting anyone. Another knock, more urgent this time. Daniel set down his glass and opened the door. The cold rushed in, carrying snow and the scent of pine. And standing on his doorstep was a young woman with a little girl. The woman looked to be in her late 20s, blonde hair dusted with snow, wearing a cream-colored coat that was elegant but not expensive. The little girl beside her, maybe 5 years old, wore a burgundy winter coat with a fur-lined hood and clutched a wrapped present in her small hands. "I'm so sorry to bother you," the woman said quickly, her breath visible in the cold air. "Our car broke down about a quarter mile from here. The engine just died. I saw your lights and hoped maybe you'd let us wait inside while I call for a tow truck. My phone has no signal out here." Daniel looked at them, these unexpected visitors disrupting his planned isolation. He should have felt annoyed. Instead, he felt something else. Relief, maybe, or hope. "Of course," he said, stepping back. "Come in. It's freezing out there." The woman ushered her daughter inside. "Thank you so much. I'm Sophia. This is my daughter, Grace." "Daniel," he replied, closing the door against the cold. "Can I take your coats?" Grace looked up at him with wide blue eyes as he helped her out of her coat. "You have a nice house," she said softly. "It looks like a Christmas house." "But where's your tree?" Daniel glanced around. She was right. No tree. No decorations. Nothing to indicate the holiday except the calendar. "I haven't had time to decorate," he lied. "That's sad," Grace said with the blunt honesty of children. "Christmas needs decorations. And cookies. Do you have cookies?" "Grace," Sophia said gently. "That's not polite." "It's okay," Daniel said, finding himself smiling. "And no, I don't have cookies. I'm not much of a baker." "We were taking cookies to the shelter," Grace explained, holding up the wrapped present. "Mommy made 3 kinds. Chocolate chip and sugar cookies and the ones with the jam in the middle." "Raspberry Linzer cookies," Sophia clarified. "We volunteer at the homeless shelter downtown every Christmas Eve, make cookies, help serve dinner. It's our tradition." Daniel felt something twist in his chest. Here was a woman clearly not wealthy, taking her daughter to serve others on Christmas Eve, while he sat alone in his $1-million cabin drowning in self-pity. "That's a wonderful tradition," Daniel said. "Let me see if I can get you some cell signal. I have a landline if that doesn't work." But when he tried both his cell and the landline, neither worked. The storm must have taken out the lines. They were effectively stranded until the storm passed or roads became passable. "I'm so sorry," Sophia said, distress clear on her face. "We're intruding on your Christmas." "You're not intruding," Daniel replied, surprised to find he meant it. "You're stuck. That's not your fault. Can I make you both some hot chocolate?" Grace's face lit up. "Yes, please." While Daniel prepared hot chocolate in his state-of-the-art kitchen, Sophia hovered awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable being stranded in a stranger's home. "This is a beautiful cabin," she said. "Do you live here full-time?" "Just weekends and holidays," Daniel replied. "I work in the city during the week." "What do you do?" Daniel hesitated, then decided on a version of the truth. Business management, consulting. It's demanding but pays the bills. It wasn't exactly a lie. He did manage business and consult, just for his own company, and it paid considerably more than bills. They settled in the living room near the fire. Grace sat on the floor, playing with the wooden puzzle pieces Daniel found in a cabinet. Sophia sat on the edge of the couch, still looking uncomfortable. "I really am sorry about this," Sophia said again. "Your Christmas Eve shouldn't include stranded strangers." "Honestly," Daniel said, "you're probably saving me from myself. I was 3 whiskeys deep and feeling sorry for myself. You gave me something else to focus on." "Why were you feeling sorry for yourself?" Grace asked, looking up from her puzzle. "Don't you like Christmas?" "Grace," Sophia warned gently. "It's okay," Daniel said. He sat down on the floor near Grace, surprising himself. "I used to love Christmas. When I was your age, my grandmother made it magical. Cookies and carols and stories. She died when I was 12. Christmas hasn't felt the same since." "That's sad," Grace said solemnly. "But you know what my mommy says? She says people we love never really leave us. They stay in our hearts and in the things they taught us." Daniel felt his throat tighten. "Your mommy is very wise." "She's the wisest person I know," Grace said confidently. "She teaches me everything. How to be kind and how to help people who need help and how to make the best cookies." "Speaking of which," Sophia said, standing up, "would you mind if we put those cookies in your kitchen? They'll keep better in there than out here by the fire." Daniel showed her to the kitchen. While Grace was absorbed in her puzzle, Sophia spoke quietly. "I'm sorry if we're imposing." Grace doesn't always understand boundaries. She's very open with strangers. "She's delightful," Daniel said honestly. "And you're not imposing." "I meant what I said. You're probably the best thing that's happened to me today." Sophia studied his face. "You really were alone for Christmas." "By choice," Daniel admitted. "I thought I wanted solitude. Turns out I just wanted an excuse to avoid people who would expect me to pretend I'm fine." "Are you not fine?" Sophia asked gently. Daniel looked at this woman, this stranger who'd knocked on his door in a snowstorm. There was something about her that made him want to be honest. "I'm successful and lonely," he said. "I've built something impressive and meaningless. I help my company make money, but I don't help anyone who actually needs help. I'm 37 and realizing I've spent 15 years climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall." Sophia's expression softened with understanding. "That must be hard, knowing you're not where you want to be." "What about you?" Daniel asked. "You're spending Christmas Eve taking cookies to strangers at a shelter." "That's not exactly typical," Sophia smiled. "My husband died 3 years ago. Cancer. The first Christmas without him, I was drowning in grief. Grace was too young to understand why Daddy wasn't there. I didn't know how to get through it." She paused, looking toward the living room where Grace played contentedly. "On Christmas Eve, we had nowhere to go, no family nearby. I took Grace to the homeless shelter, thinking maybe helping others would ease our own pain. And it did. It gave us purpose, reminded us that our grief wasn't the only suffering in the world. We've been going back every year since." "That's remarkable," Daniel said. "Most people wouldn't have that strength." "It wasn't strength," Sophia corrected. "It was desperation. I was looking for any reason to keep going, any way to make Christmas bearable. Helping others gave me that reason." They returned to the living room. Grace had finished her puzzle and was looking around with obvious concern. "Mr. Daniel," she said seriously, "I don't want to be rude, but you really should have a Christmas tree. It's Christmas Eve. You can't have Christmas without a tree." Daniel felt something shift in his chest. "You're absolutely right, but it's dark and snowing. I can't get a tree tonight." Grace thought about this, her little face serious. Then she brightened. "We could make one. Mommy and I are good at crafts. We could make a pretend tree." "Grace, Mr. Daniel might not want—" Sophia started. "Actually," Daniel interrupted, "that sounds perfect. What do we need?" For the next 2 hours, they created the most unconventional Christmas tree Daniel had ever seen. Paper chains from magazine pages, origami ornaments from office paper Daniel found in his desk, a star cut from aluminum foil. Grace insisted on decorating, hanging each piece with solemn care. Sophia and Daniel worked together, cutting and folding and laughing at their increasingly absurd decorations. Daniel found himself enjoying the process more than he'd enjoyed anything in years. "Why don't you have a family?" Grace asked at one point, with the directness only children possess. "Grace!" Sophia said, mortified. "It's okay," Daniel said. He sat down on the floor next to Grace. "I've been so busy working that I forgot to make time for family. I thought being successful was enough. But you've taught me tonight that I was wrong." "Success isn't enough," Grace said wisely. "You need love too, and cookies, and people who make you smile." "You're very smart," Daniel told her. "I know," Grace said without arrogance, "just stating fact." Around 9, Grace began yawning. Sophia looked guilty. She should be in bed. "I'm so sorry." "If the storm would just clear." "The guest room is ready," Daniel said. "Grace can sleep there. You too." "You're not driving anywhere in this weather. Please, stay. I'll take the couch." "We can't ask you to—" "You're not asking. I'm insisting." Daniel met Sophia's eyes. "Please, let me do this one kind thing. It would mean a lot to me." Something in his tone must have convinced her. She nodded, then carried a sleepy Grace to the guest room. When she returned, Daniel had poured 2 glasses of wine and was sitting by the fire. "Thank you," Sophia said, accepting the glass. "For everything. For letting us in. For being kind to Grace. For not making us feel like a burden." "You've given me more tonight than you can imagine," Daniel replied. "You've reminded me what matters, what I've been missing." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire and the snow falling outside. "Can I tell you something?" Daniel asked. "And promise you won't think I'm crazy?" "I promise." Today I was sitting here thinking my life was over, that I'd missed my chance at happiness, at meaning. And then you knocked on my door. You and Grace, with your cookies and your kindness and your wisdom about Christmas trees. And suddenly everything felt possible again. Sophia smiled. "We're pretty good at breaking through people's sadness, Grace especially. She's never met a stranger she couldn't befriend or a problem she couldn't solve with cookies and honesty." "She's like her mother then," Daniel said. "I can see where she gets it. What will you do?" Sophia asked. "After tonight? Will you go back to your life feeling like it's meaningless?" Daniel thought about it. "No, I think I'll figure out how to make it meaningful. How to use what I've built for something good. How to be more like you and Grace, helping people who need help instead of just helping my bank account grow." "That's a good plan," Sophia said. "And if you ever want to volunteer at the shelter with us, we'd love the company. They always need help. And Grace would be thrilled to see you again." "I'd like that," Daniel said. "I'd like that very much." The next morning, Christmas Day, Daniel woke on the couch to the sound of voices. He found Sophia and Grace in the kitchen using ingredients they'd found to make pancakes. "Merry Christmas!" Grace announced when she saw him. "We're making breakfast. Mommy says it's polite to make breakfast for people who let you sleep in their house." "Merry Christmas," Daniel replied, his heart inexplicably full. "That smells amazing." After breakfast, the storm had cleared enough for the roads to be passable. A tow truck was called, arrangements made. As Sophia and Grace prepared to leave, Grace ran back into the cabin and grabbed the wrapped present. "The cookies meant for the shelter. These are for you," she said, pressing them into Daniel's hands. "Because you were nice to us. And because everyone deserves cookies on Christmas." "Thank you, Grace," Daniel said, genuinely moved. "This is the best Christmas present I've gotten in years." Sophia handed him a business card. "My number, for the shelter volunteering, or if you just want to talk. Sometimes it helps to talk to someone who understands what it's like to rebuild your life." Daniel took the card, then handed her one of his own. When Sophia read it, her eyes widened. "Ashford Global Holdings. You're Daniel Ashford." "The CEO. Guilty," Daniel admitted. "But I'm also just Daniel, the man who needed 2 strangers to knock on his door and remind him what living actually means." 6 months later, Daniel stood in the newly opened Ashford Community Center, a project funded by his company but designed with input from people like Sophia. Job training programs, free childcare, a community kitchen. Sophia worked there now, coordinating volunteers and teaching cooking classes. Grace was in 1st grade and had declared she wanted to be a professional helper when she grew up. "You know what's funny?" Daniel said to Sophia as they watched Grace help an elderly woman frost cookies in the community kitchen. "What's that?" "I waited alone for 5 Christmases, thinking I was avoiding disappointment. And then you knocked on my door with cookies and your daughter, and everything changed. You gave me a reason to stop waiting and start living," Sophia smiled. "Grace says we were meant to find you, that our car broke down right there on purpose because you needed us and we needed you." "She's probably right," Daniel said. "She usually is." They'd learned that sometimes salvation arrives in unexpected packages. That loneliness ends not when we stop being alone, but when we open our doors to let others in. That the best Christmas gifts aren't wrapped in paper, but in human connection, in the courage to be vulnerable, in the willingness to help strangers who need help. Daniel's mountain cabin now had a real Christmas tree every year, decorated by Grace with increasingly sophisticated ornaments. And every Christmas Eve, 3 people volunteered at the shelter, making cookies and serving dinner and remembering the night they found each other in a snowstorm. The CEO who'd waited alone had stopped waiting. The single mother who'd knocked on a stranger's door had found an unexpected friend and partner. And a little girl's belief that everyone deserved cookies and kindness had changed more lives than she'd ever know. If this story warmed your heart, please like and share it with someone who believes in Christmas miracles and unexpected connections. Subscribe for more stories about finding hope when we least expect it. Comment below about a time when helping a stranger changed your own life, or when a chance encounter led to lasting meaning. Your story could inspire someone to open their door, to accept help, to believe that even in our loneliest moments, rescue might be just a knock away.